for coming. So does everybody here remember that scene in How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey where he's screaming at the cavern, "I'm an idiot," and he thinks it's going to yell back at him, "I'm an idiot," but instead it goes, "You're an idiot." Well, I feel like that right now, totally. I'm having an adrenaline rush, a cortisol release. I'm sweating a little bit. My pits are sweaty, palms are sweaty. I'm not having fun. Does anyone want to switch places with me? Okay, fine, that's fine. No problem. Despite my obsession with communication and understanding how humans work and just how we are, I often suffer from social anxiety, and it totally feels like an echo chamber in there sometimes. My favorite quote by Bill Bryson is, "The great paradox of the brain is that everything you know about the world is provided to you by an organ that has itself never seen that world." Grandpa Bryson also goes on to say that the brain weighs about 3 pounds. It burns about 400 calories regardless of what you do, so don't try and get a slimmer waist by thinking harder. It doesn't work, I've tried. It's protein, fat, and up to 80% water, and likened to tofu in feeling. Isn't that, it's just right up there. It's so crazy. Our understanding of the brain has changed over time. Back in 387 BC, Plato was the first to suggest that the brain was the mechanism for mental processes. And then all the way up until modern psychology, we've all heard it before, that thoughts control our feelings. Super great. So where did all those thoughts come from? Well, they come from our body taking in information from the senses, like this I Love Lucy episode, where danger, be careful when belt is in motion, because our information just comes in and engorges us with information from our surroundings, and it all goes into how we see the world and perceive our lives. So raise your hand if you've ever noticed that voice in your head. Raise your hand if that voice in your head said, "Don't raise your hand." Can we all agree a lot of mind chatter is just a lot of self-criticism and fear of being judged by others? Now, obviously, that cortisol release that might be happening to you if you were thinking about raising your hand is to protect you. You know, biofeedback is very important. Cortisol, freaking out, negative feedback loop, don't do it, scary, unknown, whatever. And not that those things aren't super relevant in certain situations, but I offer that if you didn't raise your hand, for whatever reason, that negative feedback loop prevented you from participating in your exterior space, in your external world. But it happened in your brain. Isn't that crazy? It just kicks me. Gets me every time. So when I first moved to Indianapolis, about 5 years ago, I was really depressed, and I didn't know how to communicate with people. Actually, wrong slide. To iterate this story a little bit differently, I have another story. Michael Neal is a neurolinguistic practitioner as well, and he was on a television show a couple years ago to talk about curing phobias. And in the dress rehearsal for this show, he's got 2 people, and they're scared of spiders. And he works with them, and he sees that they're hooked up to EKG machines, and they're shown a plastic container that didn't have any spiders in it. But the people that were afraid of spiders were freaking out and had the cortisol release. And he makes an interesting observation in his TED Talk, "Why Aren't We More Awesomer?" saying that we're not afraid of what we think we're afraid of. We're afraid of what we think. So this is where I was super depressed. This is me. So when I first moved to India, I was super depressed. I didn't know anybody. I moved here by myself, and I had this inner dialogue in my head. I didn't know how to make friends. I didn't know how to communicate. And it was just going back and forth. It was terrible, and I was super depressed. And I hated my surface level connections. I didn't know how to communicate, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. So I started looking into things to get more zen. We all hear it, we can all Google like how to be more mindful and how to have more peace, how to connect with others, but it just really wasn't working for me reading these articles. So I started looking into journaling, and I hired coaches, and I started meditating and the insight timer and all that stuff. And it really just turned into observing my thoughts, understanding my own processes, and I finally understood that I was more in control than I thought I was, that I didn't have to listen to all of the shit, all the stuff that I think. Because it just comes in. And so this is like a literal mind map of how complicated I am. And I started understanding then this is not even it. all of it. It's like I'm starting to understand how complicated I was, and then how everybody else is this complicated. And the world around me started getting louder as I got quieter in my head, and I understood what was happening to me. Like, this is really hard, guys. This is really, really difficult to do, and suppressing that inner voice is really hard. But I'm in control, not this guy or girl. It's complicated. It's fine. So, how can mindfulness help, regardless of how you get there, is understanding that our world is a projection of what we think and not a camera of what we see. Doesn't matter how you get there, but once you understand that you're more in control over your thoughts as they come in and process out, then you can start getting more control over your thoughts, and then into your feelings, and then into your actions, outcomes, and another external event will happen over and over and over again, no matter what. That's just how it works. And so, despite not wanting to do this talk, it was kind of like a fluke, and being scared of getting up here and doing a talk in the first place, I decided that I was more in control than I thought I was. And that's allowed me to do more with my life and connect and feel more impactful in my space, because I'm in control of my inner space. So I offer that at the end of this, I hope you all feel a little bit more empowered to take control of your inner spaces, understanding that they impact your outer spaces individually and collectively. Thank you.